Welcome to the Don't You Worry podcast. We're your hosts, Briley and Britton Caldwell, and we're here to say, don't you worry, through stories, encouragement, and joy. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's conversation. Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 9 of the Don't You Worry podcast. We're really excited. We decided to take a step back this week from interviews. We have some really great guests that are going to come on in the future weeks. We're really excited. We've got some great content coming, so stay tuned. But we did want to take a little step back and talk, just the two of us, about kind of the process of this podcast so far, how we've grown over the last few weeks, months, because we've been producing this for 2 months now. We've been working on it a lot longer than that, but we've really produced it for the last 2 months. You know, we're on episode 9 now. So what's been kind of your take on the whole process of it so far? Because we've fit this into our busy new schedules. So what have you thought so far?
It's hard. I mean, when you think about it, whenever, like you said, this has been we've been in a planning period for quite a long time now, for this podcast. And before we actually started producing the episodes and releasing them, we were on like a high about it, and we were super hyped up. We were excited, and we thought, okay, this is going to be great. We're going to do a podcast and we're going to keep up with it. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And now that we're actually doing it, it's really difficult. And like, don't get me wrong, it's so much fun, but it's still, like I said, it's just really hard because it's such a process. Like, it's so much work.
It's definitely a process, because this summer is when we really set it off. And I talked a little bit in my Unfiltered episode about like the detailed things behind the scenes that we did. So like creating our first sign, when we were cutting out the letters late at night, you know, and designing the graphics for on screen, picking music, things like that. We got super excited because, you know, these are all the little tiny details. And then you get to sit down in the studio and it's like, okay, what are we going to talk about now? And it's really fun to get to hear each other's stories a little bit, like talk about our life. And I love hearing other people's stories. So I'm so glad that we are doing this. But honestly, there are a lot of things that we didn't think about that are so like that fit into our schedule, I guess, or factors for the podcast that do make this a really difficult process. Even we were at lunch today with a friend, and she said, "Do you guys like actually argue?" And I said, "Oh yeah," because we tried to record this weekend something else, a different episode, and we sat down and the two of us did not agree at all. We were at each other in bad moods, and it did not go well. I mean, it turned into a full-blown argument, like you walking out of the room, me talking to myself. That's literally how it went.
I know. It's like, that's kind of a thing. You have to match each other's energies, because with our schedules, sometimes if our day is completely free, but I'm not in the right mindset and you are over here super hyped up about it, that just, it doesn't work, because then, like you said, I'll be walking out of the room.
Yeah. We've got to kind of be on the same level for it. But it's been really fun so far. We've just got to like play off of each other's energy and also stay kind of disciplined in it, you know, because at first, we had all of these first few episodes planned out like, okay, this is when we're going to do this interview and we're going to have this guest on this day. Well, sometimes the guests will cancel, or sometimes a certain interview doesn't work out that weekend, or something that we chose to talk about we decided we didn't like anymore. So we've got to kind of be a little spontaneous with it. There's a lot of planning that goes into it, but also learn how to go with the flow and go with the moment. Because right now we both have busy schedules. You're taking a hard class right now, right?
Yes, a very difficult physics class. And I have to put so much energy and work into that class because we have a lot of homework for that, and it's physics.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
If you've ever taken a physics class, you understand.
Yes, and you're doing dance and all the things. So when we both have after school commitments and we have lots of things each day of the week, then we've got to think through, okay, what day are we going to record? Because, you know, you get a certain episode in, then you think we have to have something come out the next 2 weeks, or we don't have something planned yet for this one. So we've got to kind of go with the flow and figure that out. But how do you think that you have stayed disciplined to do this every week?
I really want to help people with this podcast. And something that always reminds me to keep going is, okay, I feel like we're not far enough in to quit yet. because we're not. And I want to reach more people with this. I want to keep telling people, be like, hey, I have a podcast, comes out every Monday. You better, like, you got to watch it and listen, because I want to encourage people with this. And there are many people that have incredible stories that we still are going to interview in the coming weeks and months. And people need to hear their stories. People out there listening, you know, our millions of viewers.
Yes.
But I really do want to reach a lot of people with this, and we're not there yet. But if I keep pushing and keep working at this podcast, then we'll get there. And it takes a lot of time and effort.
I think the thing you said about we're not far enough in to quit yet, that's so true. But also, like, in my mind, sometimes we'll get discouraged if we're like, oh, we didn't get very many views on this one, or oh, we didn't really like the way this turned out, things like that. When we look at the actual progress of it, because this can work honestly in any area of your life, you can think, oh, well, I don't look as good as this other person. Like, it can even be a comparison thing, or I'm not as far along. But when we look at how far along we have come, like 6 months ago, this was just an idea that we were like, oh, we could do a podcast. You know, we didn't even have a name for it. We went through different names of, like, should we call it something like note to self, or we had all these different ideas that we had gone through, and none of them just like really stuck out. So even things like that took a long time to get to. So now when we look at where we're at now and kind of see the whole big picture over the last few months, I don't know the word for it. It's like encourages me to keep going, because I know the products of it are so much better when you stick to something. How do you deal with discipline in other areas of your life other than just this? Because you have to stay motivated to do a lot of things.
I do. I think dance has really helped me. And with dance, my teacher, I love her so much. And she pushes us. She really does. She's over here. Like, if she tells us to do a hard move and we're complaining about it, it's not like she's trying to tear us down. She's just trying to make us better. And I appreciate that so much from her. And I just think that's really helpful in my discipline, because I have to work at it, and I want to be good at dance, and I want her to look at my progress and be proud of me for what I've done. And I think that really it helps my mindset for this podcast and for push-ups that I do, and just all of the other areas of my life, because you can use discipline in almost every aspect of your life.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an area that I have struggled with before, because sometimes for me, like you said with dance, people motivate you. Sometimes I need other people to motivate me, because I'm gonna be completely honest, like, there are days that I just don't read my Bible, or I won't work out, or the things that I want to keep as a habit. Like, I would love to work out every single day, and I would love to read my Bible every single day and stay disciplined in these parts of my life. But honestly, that's kind of hard for me, because some days when I get out of it, it just like, it doesn't seem like a priority to me until I remember like the result behind it. So it's the same thing with the podcast. Like, if I'm not looking at the big picture of it, I'm going to think, well, I don't need to record right now. Like, that's going to just waste my time. And I may think, oh, it's not really going to be worth it to spend 15 minutes out of my day reading my Bible when I could be doing something like watching a TV show, which will get me nowhere. But when you see like the results of it, because after I do spend time reading my Bible, or spending time praying, or being intentional about like quiet time, then the whole rest of my day, rest of my week, I can tell like there's a difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can tell the same like with workouts. You can tell you feel better, you have better results. When I get in, like, I love Peloton stuff. So when I get in a Peloton streak, like, I'm literally a workout beast. You have to like, I just have to be motivated and remember like the results of it, you know?
Yeah. So you said you need people to help motivate you. Is that what helps motivate you, or is there something else that helps you?
I think mostly the people, I don't know, because like I was saying, it's mainly the result that will motivate me, as long as I am in the right mindset of it. Because if I'm not in the mindset of it and I just look at today, then I mean, well, because it goes both ways. Because like Live Today, we talked about that in a previous episode. today is your one day to live. You don't know if you'll have tomorrow, and you can't change anything you did about yesterday. So today, live as great as you live it to the absolute fullest. But I think at the same time, you've got to look at the full picture to understand that things are worth it, you know? So you may not think it's worth it to spend 15 minutes a day reading the Bible and spending time in God's word. You know, you may not think that until you're a few weeks down the road and you see somebody needs encouragement, and then all of a sudden something you read about or something you learned through your quiet time, then that comes out in that conversation. So I think if you look at the big picture of it and notice, okay, these results could actually show up in everyday things, then that's what motivates me to get things done like that, or to stay in a disciplined routine of that, you know? And I think honestly, part of it is literally just that, like, and I can say this for myself, but also people in our generation, we'd think, oh, we don't have any time to read the Bible for however long, or we don't have any time to do this. But you will sit on Instagram or you will watch a 2-hour show, you know what I mean? And we do have the time for it. We just don't make time for it. And I'm saying that for me too. But I think if I'm more intentional about disciplining myself, then that's how great things can come out of it. So like this podcast, we've done a lot, like you said, behind the scenes. We have arguments and we have lots of different things, but also part of that is because we have to make sure that we plan things out. We have to make sure that we always have things ready to go, but also are able to just think on our feet, you know, and encourage other people to do whatever it is we think they need to be encouraged by.
Yeah, and going along with discipline, I think prioritizing is a big factor in helping like produce this podcast, because whenever you think about it, on some weekends I'll have like a dance class, or we have church on Sundays, and then you think, okay, when can I fit this in? Or like you said, I'll be doing hours on Instagram or watching TV, and you really have to think, okay, do I need to produce this podcast, or do I need to get updates from Instagram? Like, you really have to just think, okay, even if I do have a little time to scroll on Instagram for a minute, that's fine, but do you want this podcast to go further? And if you do, you got to work at that first and then have your like free time.
Yeah, because that's what we want to do, is we want to reach as many people as we can with this, and not in a mindset of like, oh, how many likes do we get? How many followers do we get? We want to let this be reached in as many places as we can. We've reached 24 countries now with this podcast, which is insane. That is obviously nothing either of us could have done, but we, like, by looking at it in that mindset of spreading this content, spreading joy and Jesus to as many people as we possibly can, when we look at it like that, then it kind of motivates both of us to, okay, let's sit down and actually plan this out.
To sum up and encourage all of you out there,
it's keep going even when it gets difficult, stay disciplined even when the times get tough.